Hey, what's going on, everyone? Tom here, and welcome back to the Notorious EDC podcast. Today is the last day of the year, Friday, December 31st, and I'm joined by none other than my buddy, Greg Dunn. What's up, Greg?
Hey, what's going on, man? Sorry, the kids kind of freaked me out for a second. I wasn't expecting. I forget you got the sound effects.
Man, I'm happy to have you on the pod. Obviously, you blazed a trail with your podcast, so I'm like super excited to finally do mine and also have you be one of the first people on it. So thanks for doing that.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm stoked to be here. It means a lot here, and even that from you. No, man. It's podcasting is such a good medium for this kind of stuff, and I think there needs to be more shows like this in the mix. So I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's fun. It's interesting though, because when I was starting it, I felt like I actually filmed my first one, and I was like, I'm gonna do it so it's like a visual thing on YouTube and just an audio thing on on a podcast. But then I realized, wow, this is like an entire job in itself, and I just don't have the time for it. And there's part of me that feels like this really should be a YouTube channel because I'm talking about knives and I want to show them and stuff. But there's also a part of me that's like, there's got to be some people out there that just enjoy the conversation, and you don't need to because you could talk about the philosophy of things and you can talk about how things look. You don't have to actually show everything. But I felt like a little nervous to go down this road because I'm like, are we going backwards? Like, are we doing a radio show here? So I was a little nervous.
No, I mean, I get that. And, when I first started the show, I fought with that too. And I, struggled balancing work, life, home, hobbies, all that stuff. And I mean, that's why I did so many episodes from my car. Audio quality be damned, right? But, it sort of forced me to really focus on just the talking aspect and the audio aspect because I'm driving. So I'd hit record and back out of my driveway and head to work and
that's gangster,
talk for 20 minutes, So, I do think that there is a room for this sort of podcast in the space. So, I mean, I'm digging it for sure.
That's cool, man. Yeah. I'm going to do it and just have fun with it, and it's like you said, there's a million things going on in all of our lives and it's hard to make time for anything, but committing to this for once a week. And if I can, like anything else, once you get everything figured out, it just moves a little bit easier, a little smoother. Like even when I was first shipping beer bombs and stuff, I was like, wow, I feel in over my head. Like there's too much, it's too complicated. And then now, you get it down to a science. You have everything packed, you do the drop, you print the labels, you slap them on, you tape it, and you're done. And I feel like it's going to be the same with the podcast too, where editing it is going to be a little bit more streamlined as I go down the road and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the more you do it, just like anything, the more you do it, you sort of find out what works and what doesn't. You toss out the bad and you streamline as many processes as you can. Minimize the post work that you have to do. I mean, I got to a point where, in the last few episodes of the last season of my podcast, I was, intros were pre-recorded, ads were pre-recorded. And so it was really just jump on something like this, talk to someone for an hour, minimal chops here and there for breaks in the audio. But, and then I found tools to automate even uploading it to YouTube. So I wanted the audio represented everywhere people asked for it. So,
for sure,
you find those tools and someone out there smarter than me made them and they work. So, take advantage of them and again, minimize the post work that you have to do. And then this gets back to just sitting and talking and being fun.
Yeah. That's what all this whole thing is about, is just having fun. And, I try to do a little reflecting at the end of the year. And I feel like that's a perfect segue to jump into one of the topics that I wanted to talk to you about, which is keeping the EDC hobby fun, because it's something that I've touched on a couple times. And I feel like, I don't know, over the course of the many years that, and it's not like I'm like the oldest person in the game. Obviously I've been doing it 7 years, but that's, you know, it's almost a decade. So that's a lot of time scrolling through Instagram. But I feel like there's been times where the hobby has not been fun. And I was curious to get your take on that, because I know for me personally that I've kind of, like I said, gone back and forth with like going crazy and I need to get this grail knife or I'm not going to be able to breathe. And then I just like don't want to go down that road anymore. And now I'm going back to a place of simplicity. And like I said on the last show, I have a box directly to my left of like 25 knives that I'm going to sell. And, I did this even yesterday. I had the little native avocado and I'm like, I'm going to get rid of this thing. And then I start playing with it and I'm like, man, this knife's so nice. But I think it's got to go because I just have too much stuff and it doesn't feel like you can truly enjoy things if you have too much of it. Do you know what I mean? So I was curious to get your take on like how you feel, like where are you at in your EDC hobby / journey right now?
And I kind of went through that same thing not terribly long ago. Everybody, so like at work, I'm the knife guy. And I think anybody listening right now is probably the knife guy at work or gal. And your crazy obsession with knives and EDC gear comes up, right? And everyone there always thinks that I have this exorbitant collection of knives and hundreds on hundreds. And for a while I collected quite a few. And like I said, probably a couple months ago, I cleared out anything that was, that I bought. If it was gifted, I kept it. And there was some stuff I wasn't sure about. I just did giveaways for and really trimmed down the collection. And I think the combination, it's hard to say, I'm bored with EDC or I'm not. I think for me, it's a bunch of different factors all at once, right? So it's the monetary struggles of being in this hobby, right? And stuff being, there's always something new and there's, and so just having sort of limitless funds is not an option for most people. So, I started to kind of dial in my preferences and really figure out what I liked and knew if it might look cool. I might, really like the maker, but if it wasn't something that I was really going to carry and enjoy, I passed on it. And so, in nailing down some preferences and also, sort of staying in the grind of posting regularly, I kind of fell out of that. And now I kind of just post when it feels fun or when I got something when I feel like I've got something I really want to share, I think folks will like, then of course I put it out there. But, I think, as far as where I'm at with that, I'm getting into the point where I've really nailed down my preferences on what I like to carry. I kind of sort of same thing as you. I really like smaller knives, sometimes too small. I'm a big McBee fan.
McBee is tiny.
For those who don't know. But I nailed down my preferences, and then I kind of fell out of the grind of just buying, selling. Because again, I think you mentioned it in your episode with Joe, right? You'd see something new that you want, and then you justify it by getting rid of something that, a month ago or 2 months ago was, oh man, I got to have this one. And that cycle just kind of got boring. I met a lot of good people doing it. So I like that, but just trying to stay on top of the latest craze and the hottest knife was exhausting. So now I can count. I actually have some knives here on the table with me because I was just kind of fidgeting before we hit record, and I have 4 knives here, and I have 3 classic SD Swiss Army knives with my other gear. So I have a total of 7 knives. Collection? That's it.
Holy shit, dude. That's sick.
And that's not to say that I don't want more, because there are certainly knives I want, but I think the reason for wanting them is different now. One of the newest addition to the collection is one from Joseph Vero. I got a Neuron, so small blade. Yeah, Joseph is fantastic, but it's a small blade from him. It was kind of the first smaller blade he did. But I love Joseph's work. I love, I have the Fulcrum. I really love it. And hell yeah, that's the Neurons are sick, man. That double D10 is so fun to fidget
Super
with.
Sick.
But my reason in getting it was I like small knives. I've really been anxious to try one of his blades because I love his Fulcrum pry bars. And I love Joseph's work and what he's been doing in the community, and I wanted to support him. So, I think there's more that goes into, I guess, let me say, there's more that goes into my active participation in the hobby now than there used to be. It used to kind of just be, this is the grind, this is what I do. And now it's a
knife. Yeah, I get you.
For sure.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Wow, 7 knives, and 3 of them are classic SDs, you said?
Yeah.
Holy shit, man. I wish.
I have the donut that you sent me.
You have to have everyone needs a silly knife.
Yes, and that fits the bill for me. And then I have a classic SD that has some natural micarta scales on it from Twice Born Customs that he sent to me a while back. And then the other classic SD I actually got from a coworker. So for those that don't know, my day job, I work at a company that sells like GPS equipment and survey equipment. It's boring stuff, but like the job.
He'd have to kill you.
Right. But one of my coworkers, he knows I'm into knives. He brought me a classic SD that he got on how many years ago at a trade show, and it's from Leica. Now, Leica is cameras, right? But this is a Leica Geosystems classic SD. They used to hand them out. So it's kind of special, right? It's just this sort of bringing together the work life and this weird hobby.
That's cool though. But see, that's what I'm saying. Like something that you mentioned when you were explaining all that about your collection and everything is like, I'll see someone posting a custom traditional knife and I'm like, man, I need that knife. And then I'm like, do I? Because when was the last time I actually carried one of my custom traditional knives? And they get very little pocket time. And I keep going back, like that top 6 knives or whatever that I just posted, the Top Gear of 2021. Those are really the knives that if I had to get rid of everything, that could be my whole collection. And I'd be so pumped because I have something like a different flavor, in each one of those knives. Like I have a traditional one, I have a more modern, like tactical, fun action, a slow grandpa knife, like all that stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I just feel like it's tough. It's tough because there's just so much cool stuff out there, and there's so many things that catch my eye, and there's so many good makers, and now there's so many cool designs. So it's tough to really say you don't need this. You just think it looks cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's tough.
And I gotta say, I like that. Like you said, there's so many cool makers out there. I like that makers are jumping onto the Ranger Eye craze and the smaller items, because it makes it so much easier to support them,
and it's fun to collect too.
And it's fun to collect, and you sort of meet more people that way, and at the end of the day, I think that's kind of what we're all here for. But I absolutely love McNeese, right, and the McBee, but I don't always have $500, $600, $700 to drop on a custom killer bee when it pops up, but I can go grab something off of, some swag off of his site or something, and it still helps to support them that way. So
yeah, and it's a little piece of the maker that you can collect and be like, oh, I have something from them, and this is a fun way to represent the brand or have a little piece of their brand in your collection somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, my collection is literally off to the right over here, and I'm just like, man, there's just too much stuff, dude. It sounds like such a goofy problem, but it does feel silly because I had like 3 bug outs. I think I had 4 at one point, 4 mini bug outs, and I'm getting rid of the brass one and the titanium one, and I'm just keeping the black whatever it is. It's not even G10. I forget what they call it.
FRN or whatever it is.
I don't remember. It's their own proprietary
ballistic nylon.
Yeah, whatever. So I'm gonna keep that one just because I really like the lightweight aspect. But I'm like, I really like the Osborne better. To me, it looks a little more interesting, and it still scratches that like titanium itch that the scales that I had on the bug out did. So I'm just like, if I'm not carrying it, I want to get rid of it. But the real standout knife to me this year, at least in my collection, it's not like it's a new knife, was the Dragonfly. And that's probably, I don't know, how big is the McBee? It's like it's less than 2-inch blade.
Yeah, it's small. Or it's right at 2. I forget exactly what it is, but it is small. Right. It's very small.
Yeah, the Dragonfly, I feel like, is probably 2 inches or so. I don't even know, but man, this thing's been so solid all year, especially in summertime with like lighter shorts and stuff. It's just been so easy to carry, and just the lockup is really good because it's got that lock back. And it's just been really fun. So I don't know, I've really enjoyed carrying this knife all year. Which one of the 4 like quote unquote real folders, because obviously a classic SD is not going to be as a primary knife, so which one of those do you think you carried the most? Was it probably the McBee?
Surprisingly, no. So earlier this year, I got a hold of a GEC 25.
Oh, that's right. I remember.
For those that don't understand my love for the GEC, I have a tattoo on my forearm of the GEC 25 because I think it is peak traditional knife design perfection. It is extreme, but it again, it was one of those things where it's my favorite design. So I carried that one a lot when I first got it. And then really it's sort of about like, since I got the Neuron, it hasn't left my pocket. So that's been a couple weeks. But before that, it was the Baby Banter from Ben Banters and Civivi. And that one's just been a really fun, again, I thought the Banter was fantastic. It was great. Sort of like the Bug Out. It was, again, fantastic. But whenever he came out with a smaller variant, I was like, yeah, I'm on board. So, the basically all small knives for me this year. It's been a little bit of the McBee.
Yeah, you seem to be really into the small knives for sure. And like not just like 3-inch blade, but like tiny knives.
Yeah. I think about sort of EDC use and what do I use my knives for on a daily basis. Fidgeting. So fidgeting with a bigger knife is always kind of sketch, right? So I try to avoid doing that. Just everyday cardboard and packages and tape and stuff. So I don't need anything too extreme.
You really just need the first 1.5 inches of a knife for that. So I completely agree. Yeah. I'm with you on that. That's most of my use too.
Yeah. So the collection, smaller knives. Plus, I'm a big guy. I live in South Texas, and dude, it's December 31st, and we went on a bike ride earlier. It's 80 degrees outside. Like,
repulsive
I don't. Yeah, it's the humidity is nuts, man. This does not feel like December, but carrying around big bulky knives and other stuff is not fun. It just gets hot and sweaty, so I try to keep it pretty minimal.
I feel you, dude. Yeah, and I see I'm guilty of it too, but when I post pictures of a lot of gear, I try to be honest if it's stuff that I'm actually carrying, but sometimes I'll see people post like multiple 3.5-inch folders, 3-inch folders, and I'm like, what? You don't have all that stuff in your pocket. Like, that's not fun. You know what I mean? Maybe to someone it's fun because they feel like they're Rambo or Jason Bourne, but I don't know. Yeah. To me, it's like, I want to just keep it simple, with what I need.
I sort of look at it two ways. It's either you don't really have all that. Or if you have all that, like, why? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Like, what? Has there ever been a time where you're like, yes, I'm glad I had this third PM2 with me,
Right.
because my other two failed or whatever. I don't know.
I
So
usually have like levels, like I'll have the 3-inch knife, and then I'll have the cadet, and then I'll have the classic or the rambler, because depending on who I'm around, if I'm by myself, I can flick a knife out. No one's going to be nervous. Or if a coworker needs a knife real quick, I can hand them a cadet or the classic, which they'll probably still be nervous about, but they know I'm not a psycho, but I don't know, people are just scared of something sharp, which is just so funny to me.
Listen, I have worked to convert as many people in the, so I work, the office I work in is really small. There's like 15 of us maybe on a good day. But every year we do a Secret Santa, and every year I've gotten somebody different, and I always get them a knife. And it's one of those things where it's like, oh God, Greg's gonna get me a knife.
But it's on them. The not so secret Santa, the obvious Santa.
Very much so. But to be fair, like everyone that I've given a knife, like I somehow always wind up with someone like that works in the back with shipping, and they need a knife,
of course, dude,
or whatever. So it's worked out. But I try to do my best to destigmatize crazy knives in the workplace.
It's important. And I've found, like, with my work being freelance, and when I start working at like a new brand or something like that, there'll be a whole team of people I've never met before, and I can't reveal myself very quickly. You have to you got to ease them into it a little bit, right? So I'll take the knife out, I'll open it very slowly. I'm not gonna like Spidey flick it or something like that. And at first you get these looks like, oh my God, is that a knife? The clutching their pearls. And then a couple weeks go by and you're back again. And then all of a sudden someone needs pliers and they're like, where's Tom? You know what I mean? It's like, I think he had some pliers in his backpack. So,
well, and I think it's regional too. I mean, working in South Texas, in a tiny office that's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, where we sell survey gear, like those guys all have guns in their trucks, and probably already have knives.
Sure.
So it's a little easier, but
they have gas station knives, so they're still they have a knife, which is great, but you have to be like, here's a better way.
I have to fix them. Yes. And I think we've gotten 4 or 5 Secret Santas out of the way since I got there, and everybody's got a new knife, and they still have them. So I guess it's working.
But one of the best things is when you find, because up in New York City, obviously no one's walking around toting a pistol or with a knife in their pocket. But occasionally I'll work with someone who is carrying a knife, and it's like 5 years old, 10 years old. It's never been sharpened. It's beat to shit. And it makes me happy, because this is the person using the thing exactly how it should be used. Obviously, they're abusing it. They're using it to pry open paint cans and do all kinds of stuff that you shouldn't do with a knife. But at least they're using it as a tool. You know what I mean? Instead of just Instagram eye candy. But it always makes me, it always brings a little joy to my heart when I get to see a destroyed Kershaw that was like $13, and they bought it at the Sports Authority in 2007 or something like that. So that always makes me feel good.
Oh, absolutely, man. I took it a half step further this year, and there's 6 guys that work kind of in the back in repairs and shipping. And I just went online and I found like some super cheap stainless mini pry bars, and I took them out to the shop, did some Dremel work on them, customized them a little bit, threw lanyards on all of them, and then gave them all to these guys. And, at first it was like, what is this? And then by the end of the day, they were all, they were walking out leaving, hey man, it's on my keychain, I got it. So I'm trying to introduce some of the EDC world to the uninitiated, little by little.
Yeah. If nothing else, at least to say, I guarantee you by the end of this week, you'll find 5 uses for this pry bar. I guarantee it. You'll be using it way more, because that's one of the things that I think people are very confused about. I think Nux are probably the most confusing to people that are like dipping their toe in the EDC world. But I think the pry bar thing is very confusing for a lot of people because they don't realize how useful they really are. And it's just something that weighs nothing, takes up no space, and it's just a little tiny crowbar that you can keep in your pocket and just handle any business that you need to with it. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know if it was on Instagram stories or maybe I did like a Q&A on the podcast, but there was someone that was really outspoken about pry bars, and they're like, I don't understand it. There's no point. And I'm like, I have found several uses just in sort of day-to-day use, but I think one of the more interesting takes when I did the podcast episode with Joseph Vero, he was talking about, he was like, I don't really get pry bars, but he was like, I needed the utility of like a bit driver day to day. And so he designed his pry bar around being a bit driver first, so that he could adjust his pivot screws and all this stuff. And so that sort of opened, I already carried pry bars, but that sort of opened my mind to like, hey, rethinking the way that you view a tool, putting yourself in someone else's shoes or hearing a different perspective on it is important. And it's useful. I mean, so then whenever I did the episode, and I think I did the episode and then got a fulcrum from him, and knowing what I knew when I got it in hand, I was like, this is brilliant, and I absolutely love it. And so that's kind of, I mean, not just pry bars, but any EDC gear, figuring out sort of the motive behind it and why it exists, sort of helps me get through that. Nux, I'm with you. I don't know. I don't have any.
It's just pocket art, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because like I said before, a lot of knives are just pocket art to a lot of people,
Oh, yeah.
But I can agree with you 100%. Like a fulcrum is a purpose-built, purposefully designed item, and it solves a problem. And I always appreciate that. Everything, just like this, I forget what this is called. Santa brought me this. It's this Gerber utility knife.
Yeah.
And I saw a few people had it on Instagram, and I wrote a little letter to Sanny, and he was nice enough to put it under my tree this year. But it's pretty sweet. It's a razor blade, it's a box cutter. It's got a little rope cutting section. There's a bottle opener because it's easy to include one in there. There's a pry bar situation here, a little like nail lifter thing. So to me, even though it probably weighs like 4 or 5 ounces, which is criminal for how small this thing is, but I think it's probably it's so much steel. But the fact that it can do all these things and do them well because it's built like a tank, I think stuff like this is what the EDC, what am I trying to say? I think things like this are what people should aspire to make. And when you make stuff that's cool, but it doesn't really serve a purpose, it's basically a piece of art, which is still cool. But I think that like the Venn diagram of something looking awesome and actually having a purpose, a defined purpose, to me, that's like the sweet spot for EDC gear. And another example of that is grab it out of my pocket here, is the Prometheus Beta flashlight. To me, this flashlight is absolutely beautiful. It works so well. It's so compact. Having those 3 brightness levels is like super nice. And even the fact that it has the quick release situation on it is cool. I do wish they made a titanium one so that it would match the titanium light, but it is what it is. Hopefully Jason will do that one day. But yeah, to me, I really like when things are purpose built. It just brings me joy in a way that other things don't. You know what I mean? Because you're just like, wow, this takes care of a problem. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, and that sort of goes to, this idea, and I'm trying to remember who said this. It was somebody I talked to on the pod. Um, but having something that is sort of mediocre at 50 things versus having something that's really good for one or two things is important. And I agree with that. But at the same time, having a purpose-built tool that can do more than one thing, I think that's sort of the essence of why we carry what we carry, right? I mean,
Sure.
I have the novel carry slide kick, and it as a pry bar, it's a bit chunkier than what I would normally carry. It's a bit heavier, but it's got a really cool compartment in it that holds the bits, and I've used it as a bit driver several times, and it's great. It is a good pry bar too, and so it kind of nails everything it tries to nail. And so I think if the execution is there and it checks all those boxes, functionality is good. But yeah, I'm with you. I think there's got to be that overlap of function and fashion, and if the design is on point and it's super functional, then it's a win for me.
And there's also I agree. And there's also a space, I think, for like an all-in-one solution like you just described. Because to me, a Leatherman or a Swiss Army or Victorinox Swiss tool, Spirit or something like that, they're not going to be better than dedicated pliers. They're not going to be better than a dedicated screwdriver or all the other things that they have. But if you're someone like me who is not doing construction, or I'm not an electrician where I would have a specific tool kit for all this stuff or whatever, then having something like that in my bag where if I need it in a pinch, I know I can handle it. Because there's been a ton of times where something's come up on set and we've had to like use the pliers or whatever to fix some screw that went, stripped or whatever, and we had to like rip it out of something. So to me, I think it's a lot like that analogy with a camera. Like the best camera is the one you have with you. And there's a lot of times where I've had a really nice camera, but it's a little too bulky. So I never wanted to take it anywhere. So now I have a small camera, or everyone has a camera in their phone now, obviously. So what are you going to do? You're going to take a whole toolkit with you if you don't need a toolkit every day? Or are you going to have a Leatherman Juice, which is rest in peace to the Juice? Probably, not even probably, I'm just going to say it's my favorite multi-tool besides a Cadet, because technically it's a multi-tool. But my favorite multi-tool with pliers. How about that caveat?
Yeah,
so
that works.
To me, that's the best. That's the best multi-tool I've had because of the size and the infrequency of how often I need to use pliers. It's just something I can have. It weighs 4 ounces and it's just easy. And now they're going like for, I don't even know, probably more than 100, like 100, 150 bucks on eBay. I think they used to be like 40 bucks. Yeah. But it's tough because I have a set that's red and I wish I bought the gray one because now I just don't want the color anymore. And I was like, oh, I'll just buy one on eBay. They're discontinued, but I'm sure they'll be, and they're not just around.
They're outrageous.
Yeah. You know how it is. Yeah. It's not quite GEC prices, but still feels wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and I think that sort of idea of having, the right tool, the one you have on you, for me, there's always sort of different levels of what I carry. There's obviously the stuff that I have in my pockets that's sort of most frequented, most used. And then I've got a pouch, shout out Pouch Boys. I've got a Garage Built Gear.
Shout out to the Pouch Boys. Shout out Garage Built Gear too.
Yeah. So I've got one of those that kind of has sort of a secondary level of stuff that I always want to have. I've got little cable kit adapter in there. Now I've got my flashlight in there because I got a new flashlight, only one in my collection. Pry bar. I have the pineapple, the mini pineapple.
You just got that. What do you think?
Of course, I have the pineapple.
It's a must.
So I absolutely love it. I'm not a flashlight guy at all. But this is titanium from Raylight. I got the smooth barreled one.
Oh, nice. That looks sick.
So it's really clean. It checks all my boxes. I wanted a tail switch. I wanted AAA. I went through his website and did the programming. So now I just have low, medium, high. And I've got the bigger battery in here. Yeah, it's a task. Like you have to press the button in a certain way to get it to start. And then when you take the battery out, which I found you have to reprogram it, but I kind of got it figured out enough to where I'm happy with where it is. And so it's just low, medium, high now. And I've got the memory setting. So anytime I turn it on, it's just right back on low or medium or whatever I left it on.
It's a good looking light.
I like it. It's a win for me. It's going to get some carry time for sure. But yeah, there's sort of this sort of multi-tiered what I carry. If you go to my backpack that I carry to and from work every day, that's where I've got, my Leatherman tool. I forget what model it is. It was gifted to me as a sort of an older one. But the pliers have come in handy in a pinch. The screwdriver, same thing. But in my bag, I've got, the Leatherman. I've got a Zippo lighter that are just, always handy to have something frays or tears. You can burn the ends real quick or whatever. Absolutely. And so, yeah, I think I've found, kind of going back to what I said in the beginning of sort of finding my preferences. I've kind of found what I like to carry, what I like. I don't leave the house usually without a knife. Like that's like the one thing. And then, day to day, I carry 2 or 3 things: knife, usually pry bar, bottle opener, something like that. But then I've always kind of got that secondary pack in the bag that, houses all of my other trinkets and all that. So yeah, I mean, I think whether you're a fan of big, super complicated multi-tools or not, I think there's a place for them. And, going back to what we said about design and functionality and all of that stuff, I don't think there's a wrong answer. I think all of this stuff kind of finds its place, and the folks that end up with it are happy with it. And I've certainly got, all of my boxes checked for the tools that I need, at least for the most part.
Yeah, totally. And actually, it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned like not leaving the house with a knife. I feel like a lot of us feel like, you tap your pockets, you go phone, keys, wallet, knife, or whatever, and yep. There's plenty of times where I have left the house without a knife, but I try not to. And I'm always imagining a scenario in my head where I need to there's a dog stuck, and if I don't cut his collar, he's going to die. So I have to save his life. But actually, something happened once where I was so justified because we went to this bakery, and I was sitting in the car because I was parked illegally for just 2 minutes. I don't think I'm special and I don't have to follow rules. It was just there's nobody there. It's one of those technicalities in Brooklyn where it's an old sign. There's not even anybody over here anymore. But anyway, so we're at this bakery. My wife's in line and we're going to be there for 3 minutes or whatever. I see some lady riding a bike, and I see in the gears the white Apple headphones, like the wired headphones, and they're jammed in the gears. And I'm like, oh wow, this lady is struggling. And she actually, I was like, whatever, just kind of watching her go by. But then she pulled over right next to where my wife was standing. So I hopped out of the car, and my wife was looking at me already knowing what was going to happen. And I went up to the lady and I was like, I'm so sorry to bother you, and I don't mean to scare you, but I saw that you're having some bike trouble with this headphone wire tangled in the gears. And my wife is immediately that's my husband. He's cool. Don't get nervous. You know what I mean? She had to disarm the whole situation, but the lady was cool. And she was like, oh, well, what can you do? And I was like, well, how attached to these headphones are you? Because I can get rid of them for you in about 2 seconds. And she was like, I just want to get this bike back. She's like, this is my son's new bike. It was like a holiday or something. So she was there for the weekend or something. And I could tell it was a very expensive bike. So I was like, I have a knife. I can cut it and I can remove it, and you'll be on your way, and you can just find another pair of headphones that are you have probably 6 of them in your, in your house or whatever. She's like, get it out of here. So I just took the knife out, cut it real quick. It was the mini bug out, if anyone cares. And I felt the level of satisfaction from having a knife and needing it the one day out of an entire year that I would randomly run into something like that, I was just like, that's what it's all about, my friends. You are the hero. That lady, I'm going to live rent free in that lady's head for the next 5 years because she was going up a hill with headphones in her bike gears. And some random person was like, I want to cut this thing out of here. You know what? It felt really good. And I will literally think of that almost every time I leave the house because I'm just like, what if this happens again? I need to save the day, man.
Now, two things, like everyone listening has probably had a moment like that,
Absolutely.
right? Where you get to be the hero. Now my family, my wife and obviously like my in-laws, my extended family, they know I'm the knife guy. And so anytime we go hang out with my brother and he's ridiculous enough to ask out loud, does anybody have a bottle opener? Like, of course, all eyes come straight to me, right?
Don't disrespect me. Of course, I have a bottle opener.
Oh, absolutely. I'm like, I always answer, I'm like, who do you think I am? Like, who are you talking to?
What is this, amateur hour? I don't have a bottle opener.
Exactly. Like, why don't you? Yeah. So everyone listening has probably had a moment like that, and everyone is also sort of thinking like, man, I hope that's me today. Like, I hope I get to be that guy. Because it's a good feeling. You get to be like,
you got the Superman tucked under the Clark Kent outfit. You know what I mean? It feels good.
Yeah. I mean, and listen, I now I'm the guy. People come up to me, ask me for the most random things, because they're like, hey, this guy carries a knife and a weird little pry bar. Like, why wouldn't he have 3 bobby pins and a zip tie? I don't know.
I have all that shit in my bag.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's an episode for a future time. What's in my backpack? Because it's like laughable what I keep in this backpack, dude. But I have zip ties. I don't have bobby pins, but I have safety pins. I have hair ties, and I'm going to let everyone in on a little secret right now. Go to Amazon and order yourself like 100-pack of black hair ties. They are so much better than regular rubber bands because they don't lose their elasticity as quickly, and they are superior in every way. I don't even know where to start with hair ties, but I used it once just on like a whim because it was like my wife had one laying around or whatever years ago, and I just grabbed it and I was like, wow. And then, they never like lose that elasticity, and they don't just get old and just fall apart. They're amazing. Shout out to hair ties.
if you are married, like, you get to be the hero when the wife's hair tie breaks. Like, how convenient is that? Like, it's a win all around.
You want to score some points. I got hair ties in my backpack right now. How do you like that? And at work too, it helps too. I work with so many ladies, and it's definitely come in handy a time or two. But
for sure,
I feel like that's another thing I was going to ask you about. Like, what do you think about the pouch boy phenomenon? Because I have so many feelings about it, and not anything really bad, but to me, I'm just a little more practical with my pouch carries because I keep like a lot of modular, kind of like what you're describing with your bag. Like, I have my electronics pouch, and I have this and that.
One of the things that I've searched for multiple times is like a backpack insert, so I can just, like, I would love to just be able to just grab one thing and switch bags. I'm going to go out on a limb here and sound super hipster, if that's the word, but like I was a pouch boy before I even knew it, right? I've had a Maxpedition pouch.
It was like, I don't want to be that guy where I found the band 10 years before somebody, but I think we all, it's part of being a nerd in the EDC world when you figure out like, wow, having Maxpedition pouches, and for me especially, going to different jobs and different places all the time. Yeah. Some days I need my backpack. Some days I need my camera bag. So to be able to drop those things back and forth without having to think about it at all is super nice. And when I used to travel all the time, not all the time, but when I traveled a few times a year, it's nice to be able to just be like, this bag doesn't have anything that the TSA will flag. I can just drop that in there or whatever. You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was all about so the bag that I carry is the rucksack from Nutsac, and it's normally I carried a bag with 78 pockets, and being a rucksack, it's pretty wide open. There are a few pockets, a few compartments, but really it's pretty minimal on that. And so and before that it was the satchel from them. And so I really needed a way to keep all of the stuff that I have on a normal basis. It's not stuff I use every single day. It's not stuff I need every single day, but
Nice to have.
I want to have it, but I also don't want my backpack to look like, my kid's toy box that's just piled up high and you can't find anything. Yeah. So, at first it was I need this to just sort of keep everything modular and keep everything adaptable. And that was all good and well for years, couple years at least. And then I started seeing, I don't know what boom came first, whether it was the Ranger Eye boom or the pouch boom, or maybe they kind of came up at the same time. But I think they're great. I don't have anything bad to say about them. I think, just like anything in the EDC world, they're experiencing a big boom right now. And
so hot right now.
Yes. And I'm sure they'll calm down. I think they kind of already have, at least a little bit. I know that the garage built stuff is sort of hard to get your hands on, but, with anything, I mean, that's, what is it? One dude cranking stuff out.
Yes.
All by hand, like quality, like I get the reason behind it. It's the same way or the same reason that some of these makers aren't cranking out 50 knives a month. Right. And so, I get that takes time. I think even some of the mass produced ones are starting to kind of catch up, Maxpedition included, like they're kind of following suit, and any others I can't think of, but I like it. I think it's cool. I've actually, funny enough, a few times in the last month, I've actually only carried this mighty pouch as my wallet even. So I threw my cards and everything in the zipper on the back and then just had everything here. So I had nothing in my pockets and everything on the pouch, and it was a little awkward to carry. It didn't really fit in a pocket great, but
it's pretty bulky to be a wallet. But
yeah, I mean, just to, lately we've been doing a lot of like drive up pickups and stuff and curbside orders. And so just to throw it in the passenger seat when I'm driving somewhere, just to have everything, but be able to just jump in the car, drop it and go, has been nice, but it's not a permanent replacement. I don't think I'll do it, all the time, but every now and then it's nice. So I like I said, I like them. I'm a fan.
Yeah. I think I figured out where it all went crazy. I think it's analogous to, and I don't even know what analogous means. It just feels right. I'm not going to even lie to you right now, but it feels analogous to what I was describing with the journey that knives have gone through, like having, like, no disrespect to the mini Griptilian, but mini Griptilian compared to some knives that are out now are like Maxpedition pouches compared to the Mighty pouch. Like when Garage Built Gear comes out with a Mighty pouch, people are like, yo, this shit is sick, dude. So it's just a whole different level. And the fact that it's like Maxpedition, they make awesome stuff. It's like bomb proof, you know what I mean? But it's been 4 colors for the past 10 years. And you want a Mighty pouch, you can get it in 100 different colors. Well, if you could get it, you could get it.
Yeah.
They're made in many different colors and all that stuff. Like he just did a donut one, which came out sick.
Yeah, dude, I saw that. I love it.
So good. But yeah, so I think for me, where I saw everything kind of explode with the pouch situation was when I think Nick was the one that I saw post it, but I don't know if he started it or if someone else was the first one to make it. Ironically, that little Maxpedition 5x3 pouch. Yep. And then they figured out, like, I'm just going to double up a Velcro on the front, and that's going to be where I keep my Ranger eyes. And I remember seeing that because I'm still in like the old school pouch zone. And I'm like, dude, that's sick, because that's a great small pouch. You could put like a bunch of little things in there. You could put a couple little cables, maybe a spare battery for your phone or whatever, and like a flashlight, just some little shit, and then you can put all your Ranger eyes on it. That's so fun. And then I guess Garage Built Gear had been around way before that, but then all of a sudden the Ranger Eye craze started to get crazier and crazier. And maybe maybe I wasn't tuned into it totally, but that's when I did get tuned into it. And I started to see like, wow, people are going absolutely crazy about Ranger Eyes. And then Mighty Pouch ended up having Velcro on top. And that was like, I think his business probably exploded when that happened. And then he did the Plus with the whole front. And I remember
I need a Plus.
Yeah, I got a Plus right here, but I remember, everything just fell out. I remember that I was just kind of like, I don't know about the pocket on the side. And then I was just kind of like, well, what would I put in there anyway? I'd probably put in like a cable, which isn't going to fall out because it's rubber. So it's all good. But I really like the Velcro on the whole front. I think it's more fun. You can put all your patches on there and stuff like that. And I think the Ranger Eye thing got me hyped on it got me back in that mentality of like, I need all the patches. And I started to go crazy, and I was like spending so much time on Facebook and like trying to hunt down patches. And then I was like, yo, slow down, just chill. If you come across a patch and it happens to work out, you'll get one. And don't drive yourself crazy. Like don't sacrifice your personal life for gear, because when that starts to happen, you become an addict, and it's not healthy behavior. And someone in my Facebook group actually went ballistic one day because my drop went and sold out quick, and he was like going off about it. And are you in my Facebook group? I don't even know. Right. So I don't even remember exactly what happened, or if you saw it, he was just like, he's like, I stepped away from my family for this, and I should be spending time with my son or whatever he said. And I was just like, yes, you should. Like, dude, you're gonna stop your son telling you a story to go buy some gear? It's like, it's not that serious, man. I mean, I get it if you're if you're chasing something forever and you're like, I'm gonna get it this time. But it's also like, I don't know, man. It starts to get scary when you get to that point. You're just like, oh, this isn't really a good look for humanity.
No, I think everybody goes through that, stage in being in the hobby, right?
You get to the edge of the cliff eventually, and you're like, this is
exactly.
No good.
Yep. And then you turn around, and that's kind of where I'm at now. I same thing like you said with Ranger Eyes, but with everything, where it was like, I just have to stop. I see all these folks that are, I see all these folks that are super involved and engaged on not even just one Facebook group, but multiple. And I'm like, I don't understand how you have the time to be super engaged, and more power to you for doing that.
Yeah.
But I can't do that. So I'm going to take a step back, and kind of like you said, if it falls in my lap, it falls in my lap. And if it doesn't, it's going to be okay. I'll get it when I get it. And if I don't, I didn't need it that bad. So I'll be all right.
Especially for something like a Ranger Eye, where it's basically just a decoration for something. It's like, it's fun to have it, and it's fun to collect them. And I do appreciate like what you're saying, all the people on all the Facebook groups that are super active. And I am kind of confused at how people do have so much time, but I think maybe a lot of people's jobs involve them being on their computer, and maybe they don't have to be super attentive. I know at my job, I have to be pretty attentive, so there's no way I could, sit around, but I can check in once in a while through the day. So it's not like I'm never going to be on my phone. I mean, I'm always on my phone. My phone's always never further than like 3 feet from me. But I think for a lot of people, the community aspect has become really big, which is awesome. And I think that if the obsession of finding these Ranger Eyes or whatever leads you to making friends, I think that's cool, And I think that happened to me with knives years ago, where I would find people that were into the same kind of knives as me, and I'd be like, yo, give me a heads up if you see something now. Like even now, there's a couple guys who I know are like deep into certain kinds of knives, and I'll be like, yo, if you ever see something pop up for sale, because I know you're always looking, you know, they're super dialed into that stuff. So I'm like, just give me a holler. And then we end up chatting about life and stuff like that, and we become more friendly and everything. And it's less about, you know, if you see a knife, and more like, hey, how's your family? You know what I mean? How's that thing that you were stressed about? Like, how's life? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. No, I had something really similar recently with the Pineapple Light. I had been, you know, if you follow me, you know, I like pineapples. It's kind of, I guess it's kind of my thing. I still get random DMs, sort of like you with bananas. But you know, there's
memes.
Yeah, so Patina Turner, I think his name is Chris. If not, I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure that's what it is though.
He's a good dude. I'll chat with him a bunch.
Yeah, so he has, like, I've mentioned it to him a couple times, like we've chatted about it, because he knows I'm not a big flashlight guy, but he's the reason I have one. He shot me a random DM one day and was like, hey, I know you keep missing the drops, like, here, they're available. And sure enough, I jumped on them. So like it was one of those moments where it was like I had kind of took my foot off the gas and stopped worrying so much about it. And I get one, great. You know, if one pops up on the secondary or something, like, you know, it'll be fine. But yeah, he just dropped me a link and he was like, hey, they're up. So I grabbed one, and then I refreshed the page and they were out. So I was like, all right. So, you know.
And it's nice when that happens too, because it feels like it was meant to be in a way. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And I try to do that for people too. Like if I see someone is selling something, or they're doing a knife sale, and I know someone was looking for something similar or whatever, I'll try and forward it to them. And I try to help people where I can too, obviously, and try and get them connected with gear. So I don't know. It's nice. The whole, the community aspect to me of the EDC world, I personally like it better in the production world than in the custom world, because I feel like the custom world is super cliquey. And if you're not in these certain clicks, then you're not getting this gear. And besides not even getting the gear, you feel like you don't belong in the group, or you feel like it's not for everyone. It's just for a certain group of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think with the production stuff, everybody more or less has access to it. I know some sprint runs are hard to get, and maybe there's some makers like Vero who not everyone can grab one immediately or whatever, but
yeah,
I feel like generally speaking, it's more of a level playing field. And I think that people are just more excited to talk about that stuff. And it's just like, this knife was $100. It's sick. It cuts really well. It looks cool. The end. You know what I mean? You didn't have to like chase after it for a year or whatever. I don't know. To me, it just seems like more fun. It's more like getting a G-Shock and being like, this is sick. Like, it tells the time. I can beat it up, and I don't have to think about it. I can drop it. I can drink a Monster and punch through drywall. Nothing's going to happen, and it's all good. You know what I mean?
Calm down, Kyle. No, I mean, you know, I think that there's definitely that the trade-off is not as great as it used to be too. You know, the production knives, the quality has just skyrocketed.
It's
absolutely insane. So yeah, you're not really giving up a whole lot. I mean, yes, I think you and Joe touched on this more than once, right? But I've had a couple of customs, not anything super flashy, but you know, they're almost underwhelming. And not to say that there aren't some out there that are overwhelming and the hype really does live up, but I think pound for pound, like
the honeymoon wears off, and then like, ugh, now I got this.
Yeah, and so I think it's also that honeymoon wearing off hurts a lot less when you spent $60 on your baby banter.
Exactly.
Which, honeymoon's not over. Still love this thing.
Good.
But you know, if you spend $60-$70 on it versus $700, right? If you fall out of love with something, it's less painful when it's a production knife. So I don't know.
There's no stress for trying to sell a production knife, really. It's like,
none,
you know, you might lose a couple bucks, but someone will buy it. and especially if it's in pretty good condition. But if you need to unload a very expensive custom knife, and maybe you got a little bit of a more obscure configuration or something, you're like, I don't know how. And that's another thing is like, you can buy a weird color production knife, and I'm not saying blue is a weird color, but I'll use it for an example. You don't see a ton of like royal blue knives, right? Yeah, I see your Greg's got a little blue pop filter on his microphone, but I mean, you don't see a ton of blue knives out there, right? But if you had a blue custom knife, that's going to be a very much smaller group of people that's going to want to spend $1,000+ on a blue knife rather than an OD green micarta or black or something like that. That's got a little more mass appeal. So it's like, you want to get a blue PM2, go crazy. You're going to have a great time. Smurf it up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Absolutely.
know. But I don't know. I think there's so much, there's so much happening in the EDC world right now, but I still feel like it's being refined and there's still so much more exciting stuff to come. There's more cool designs to come. And especially with like what you did with narrowing down your collection, which is what I'm going to attempt to do, but fail miserably at, but I'm going to try. Well, there's just, I don't know. There's like so many different styles of knife that I like. And then I'm like, what am I going to have? One traditional knife and then one tactical knife or whatever. It's like, I want a few of each because there's so much cool stuff out there. It's tough.
Yeah. I mean, with my collection, I think there are definitely more I want to add. And I, maybe I'm off on this, but I think if you're looking at it as a user, okay, well, if I'm not going to use it, I'm not going to own it, right? But if you're looking at it from the perspective of a collector, you don't, if you're a collector, you don't have to use everything. You don't have to.
That's a whole different aspect of the hobby in itself.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess what I should have said is I've shifted from collector to more user, but
sure.
There's still that itch and there's still some stuff coming. I mean, like I said, the Neuron from Vero just got it, so it's still fresh. But I still go to Blade HQ or whoever, and I look at the upcoming stuff, what's coming out, what's new, and what can I get excited about. And it's branched out. It's not just knives. It's other gear. Who else is dropping stuff that I want to check out. And so I guess that's the collector side of it. Yeah, exactly.
Useful tools. It goes back to what we said before, where it's like that nice little Venn diagram of useful and fun to own, fun to fidget with, just cool shit that makes you just feel warm and fuzzy inside. Nothing makes you feel warm and fuzzy like a cool knife.
Oh, absolutely. It's I'm exactly. Yeah. Words of advice from Tom.
That's it. But yeah, was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Man, I not particularly, I love what you're doing with the podcast and thanks, I think you have the right audience. You've got the, myself not included, you've got the right folks jumping on, and I'm excited. I disagree.
I think yourself included.
I think one of the, so for those that don't know, before my current day job, I worked at an ad agency. Like, that advertising was what I went to school for. And the agency was all about spoken, ads. So it was radio and satellite radio, terrestrial radio, podcasts. And when I got there, podcasts were big, but they weren't huge. And, I spent about 2 years there. And in that time, podcasting became like the biggest chunk of every budget that we had. And so I was sort of just completely submerged in the world of podcasting. So that's why I started the podcast that I have, is because I just love podcasting. It wasn't even about EDC. of course, I love EDC too, so that's why that was sort of the main topic. But I just wanted to jump in and see if I could do a podcast and see how easy it was and see what it was like. And one thing that I noticed with Everyday Carry, and it's better now, but 2 years ago, 3 years ago, there weren't normal guy consumable podcasts, if that makes sense, right? It was some of the more technical conversations, and which there's fine. That's fine if that's what you're into, and you care to know about the knife making journey and the blade geometry and steel heat treating and all that stuff. Like that's fine. But just a sort of everyday water cooler talk, everyday carry podcast. They're just, I don't know if there were any or if there were one or two, but I think stuff like this is good, and we need more of it. And so I like the fact that you're dropping these, and I've listened to the episodes you've put out so far, and they're exactly what I think most folks want to hear.
Thanks,
so
dude.
anyways, yeah, that's my spiel on rambling about your podcast.
No, I think your podcast is awesome, and I think everyone should check it out. And that's honestly what made me feel like I should do it in a way, because I was like, this is perfect. Like, you're talking to your wife about knives or whatever, and like that shit just made me laugh, because it's like, I feel like that's regular conversations that we have as collectors and all this stuff. So to me, I honestly have never listened to any other EDC related podcasts except for yours. So I don't even know what they talk about. I think Mark of the Maker is supposed to be amazing, and I definitely need to listen to it, but I almost wanted to just do my own thing and just see how it goes, Yeah. So I really wanted to do something where I can expand on Instagram, because Instagram is so limited and you can't really have a conversation. Well, not that this is a conversation if I did a solo one, but obviously with a guest, it's a conversation, but meaning like you can't expand on a thought that much on Instagram, because there's only so much you could say. And as we all know, no one's reading captions really. So, it's like, there's really not much to say on there, but on here, it gives people a place that are genuinely interested in hearing about stuff, at least from my point of view, a place to consume that information. And I feel like it's fun to talk about this stuff, because I've spent so much of my time researching gear, enjoying my gear, talking to other people about gear, and even like what you were saying about the grind of posting. Even when I get burnt on posting, I'm still on Instagram in the DMs talking to dudes about different knives that are coming out, or they're asking me, like someone is literally just asking me for photo advice today. So I try to just take it to another level, and I feel like the pod is a great way to do that. So I'm having fun with it. I foresee myself doing it long term, and it's obviously way more work. Everything is way more work than you think it's going to be.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's going to be fun. I think it'll be great. I'm excited to have some people lined up, and I'm just excited to turn people on to new stuff and new makers, or maybe new to them. Because like when I came into the game, it's just like a whole new world, right? And then you make some friends that have been in the community longer, and they're like, yo, check this out. And you're like, yo, that's the sickest. It's like when you're a kid and someone plays you a band and you're like, yo, I didn't know music could sound like this. And they're like, yo, check this out. And then they play you a couple other bands and you're like, oh my God, it gets better. And it's like, I feel like that's, I think that's a big part of it, is kind of just putting the spotlight on makers and collectors and just people in the community, because dudes like yourself and Joe are great guys. And I feel like people should seek out people like you guys, because you're awesome people. And that's what this whole thing is about. So I want to be able to say like, this is cool, get your knives, enjoy your gear, but also say what's up to Greg, say what's up to Joe, say what's up to so-and-so. And this is how we do break the stigma that knives are so scary. It's like, just make cool friends. We're all a bunch of nerds. That's what I try to tell people at work. Like, you think like we're just when you think of a person that collects knives, people think I have like 40 swords on my wall, like around my TV. You know what I mean? Someone said that to me once, like, do you have swords on the wall? I'm like, are you fucking crazy? Like, what do I need a sword on my wall for? I mean, swords are sick, but I live in Brooklyn. Like, what am I going to do with a sword?
Yeah.
It's like Wayne's World. I don't even own a gun, let alone many guns. But yeah, so I feel like people need to learn that we're nerds and that's the way it is. No, but it's true. It's like my experience with knives is posting about the James brand and having to defend VG10. Like that's what the knife world is in a lot of ways. People are just mad about blade steels. It's not like people trying to do anything nefarious with knives. It's mostly just nerding out about them. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, and that was, when I was going through interviews with a bunch of makers, it was, the thing that I took sort of two things from talking to people outside of just DMs or comments or quick replies or whatever. And it was, number one, the people that you think are high up there are down to earth as can be. I mean, you look at, I don't know how many followers you're at now. What are you at? 20, 25,000? I don't even know.
2 away from 60,000, actually.
2
followers away. I might have hit it by now.
Oh, come on.
It's the last 2 that'll get you.
Anyways, point being, like, no, you're fine. You're fine. I found out that like the folks that you think are way out of your league or too good for you or that without talking to them, giving them the chance, you think, oh, they're clicked up, right? They're not going to talk to some random dude. Those people are some of the best people, and they're super cool. I'm not saying there aren't D-bags out there, right? But
sure.
For the most part, like the folks that I've spoken with that have big followings have been really great. But the other thing was, every episode that I had where I talked to someone, like I came away with a cool story that sometimes they were gear related, sometimes they weren't, but just this idea of finding out some reasoning behind the design or figuring out what their influences were or whatever, like it brought a whole nother level and a whole nother degree of respect for the makers. And that, again, that's sort of influenced why my collection is where it is because I want to put my collection behind the folks that have cool stories and have cool meanings and have cool influences and all of that stuff. So yeah, I'm a big fan of expanding, like you said, kind of what you're able to do on Instagram.
I think one of the funny things that like you're bringing up is that a high follower count means that someone is not going to respond to you, which is probably true, I think, in regular life Instagram. But to me, like I can't even tell you, dude, I'm joking about the 60,000 because I'm more annoyed that I have 59,998 and I'm just like hanging on by these 2 because I just wanted to hit 60 by the end of the year. And I just thought it would be fun to just hit that number. And the thing, I swear to God, dude, I've never cared about the number. To me, I feel like I've always had a lot of followers because, like I said before, I got into the game early and I was posting pictures that did not look like they were run through a Weber grill. That's really all it was. I got reposted by a lot of accounts and my pictures were just clean looking and that was really it. But I can't even tell you how many times I get DMs where people are like, thank you for responding to me. And I'm like, why wouldn't I fucking respond to you? Like, I'm a regular person. I'm just a dude like everybody else that has knives and spends too much money on them and doesn't need half of this shit. Like, I'm just like everybody else, dude. I am very busy. I have a lot of shit going on in my life, but this aspect of my life is very important to me and I am passionate about it. So I put time and effort into it. And when people take time to ask me for a knife recommendation, that means a lot to me because that means they think that I have the answers. And I sometimes do and I sometimes don't. Asking me for camera recommendations, it means a lot to me because I know that I do it for a living. So my opinion means something to somebody. So why wouldn't I give someone the time of day, dude? It's like, I'm not on a fucking high horse. I'm a regular person like everybody else. We're just out here trying to enjoy ourselves and trying to find someone that also likes the same stuff as us. So to me, that's what it's all about.
For sure. And you know, it took me longer than it should have to realize that, right? And there were times, especially when I was first getting started, like, I don't know if I'm going to be worth their time. I don't know if they're going to want to take out 45 minutes. And now, obviously, hindsight being 2020, I'm like, I should have not been an idiot, right? And I should have reached out even sooner. It's
not being an idiot.
But you know, and I think that's just that's just normal. People see that big number and think, oh boy, you know, their inbox is probably flooded. There's no way they even have notifications turned on. I'm not going to waste my time. But I've found that really, I mean, in this hobby, that's not the case.
Right.
Some of the bigger names in the community or in the hobby are some of the absolute best people.
Absolutely, dude. You hit up John Brown. He's like the nicest dude. I get a lot of DMs every day. I have no idea. I never really keep track of how many, and my notifications are not turned on because my phone would be blowing up all day long and I just can't deal. But I respond to every single message I get. And sometimes I don't have time and I'm running around and I'll just throw an emoji in there or whatever, like a thank you, the prayer hands or whatever it is, a high five. The debate's still out. But I'll always respond. And if I'm short, it's because I just didn't have the time. But at the end of the day, I appreciate everybody that sends me a message and that does want to chat. So I try to make time and I try to get back to everybody, you know.
It's a crazy world, but I'm glad we're a part of it. And,
it is a crazy world.
I enjoy this kind of stuff. So this is fun for me. Like podcasting and EDC is like
just nerding out, man. Nerding out on several levels. We got like specific microphones, but of course we do, because we have a special pry bar to pry things open. We have specific pens that you are stressed out about until someone at work hands back to you. You know, you don't even want to hand it over. It's like we have special stuff for everything. So this is we love nerding out about this stuff. It's just so much fun. So why wouldn't we have special mics? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool, man. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I appreciate you
absolutely
being here, because like I said, you were a huge inspiration for me to do this, and I hope that I can live up to the greatness that is your podcast.
Man, you have already done that and then some.
I've only had 3 episodes, so you're a liar. No,
that's not true. I'm not a liar. I think that, you know, the mindset that you had, I know we're wrapping it up, I'll be short, but I think the mindset that you have and how you tackle things, you don't jump into something unless you've set yourself up for success, right? And so I feel like that's sort of how you've taken on this podcast. Like you're putting in the work, you're making it quality. You know, if you go back and listen to some of like my, you know, episodes 1 through 50, some of them are pretty bad, right? But as you kind of learn and progress, they get better. But I feel like you jumped out, you know, you hit the ground running. And so I'm just excited for all the episodes that you've got kind of rolling around in your head, and whatever's going to come out next. I'm really looking forward to.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, but I think there's something to be said about just jumping into something like the way you did and just figuring it out as you go. Because I have a problem where I want it to be absolutely perfect on the first try. Otherwise, I'll beat myself up over it. Like the first one that I recorded, I threw out because I was like, this sucks. And my wife was like, are you going to really do this for this too? Like, because I do it all the time with other things. Like when I was doing YouTube stuff, I would just make a video and be like, this video is shit. And I would just delete it. And I've done so many YouTube videos where they've never seen the light of day. And I'm just like, I can't live like this, man. But with the podcast, I'm like, I got a good mic. I'm going to just go for it, and we're just going to see what happens. And I'm going to just keep the quality sounding good, because I feel like if you're in your car and you're listening to this, you don't want to listen to it if it sounds like shit. So just got to make it sound decent and try and cover the topics that we all find interesting. So I want to be more of a flashlight guy, Greg. I want to be more of a flashlight guy. I'm having a hard time because I have all these flashlights and I never get to use them, but I carry them anyway because they make me happy. And that's the bottom line. I'm looking at this flashlight.
I like it.
I wish I used it more because it's so nice.
Yes.
I wish there was a
Same
lady
here.
that had something stuck in her bike every single day so I could feel like more of a useful human being.
Right. Listen, that's something we all struggle with daily.
Yeah.
We're just doing what we can.
That's it. We're just waiting. We're here and we're ready. If someone needs a knife or a flashlight or some, medium level pliers, light to medium duty pliers, we're ready.
It's the life we live. It's our burden.
It's the life that chose us. All right, Greg.
Yep.
Thank you so much for your time, dude. I really appreciate it. And
Absolutely.
I'm just happy that you're here. Thank you so much for doing this, dude.
Yes, sir. Happy to be here. Have a good one.
All right, guys. You have a great new year. It's New Year's Eve, and hopefully this will be live on New Year's Day. So I hope you guys have an awesome 2022. We're going to look forward and not look back this year. A lot of cool stuff to come. And all the best in 2022. Happy New Year. Peace.